All right, so we're going to start now. This webinar is being recorded, so I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you very much for being here to this webinar on a new approach to language training called Digitally Assisted Language Training, or DALT. I'm not going to talk about DALT. That's going to be Richard's job. My job is just to welcome you and to tell you that for those who do have access to the chat box, you can always ask a question and I will relay it. And for any technical issues, then I'm here as well. Like I said, we're recording this and we will be, if we're not sending the whole video off, we'll be sorting some sort of replay out for those people that aren't here. And Richard will also be sending some other goodies, which he'll be talking about throughout the webinar. Can you just pass us through to the next slide, please? Yeah, because I haven't got control of it this time. Richard does, that's great. So Lingwade, and if you don't know who we are, well, we are a consulting firm based in France and the UK, and basically we're here to help professionalize the language training market. We help language schools, we help freelance language trainers with their business. We do teacher training, we do all sorts of training, we do some consulting, we do lots of studies as well. And we're very invested and involved in online training. And Richard, who's going to present himself, joined us his company joined us last year. We've been working very closely together on a new approach to online language training, one that we believe is a winner, and that's what we're going to be presenting you today. So without further ado, Richard, can you it's over to you. Can you present yourself and go straight into the webinar? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. So yeah, my name is Richard Osborne, and I'm here today to talk to you about a method and approach to language training that I've been developing over the years. So I'd just like to tell you a little bit about myself first, about my history. So I started language training back in 2009 in Paris. I worked for a private language school that was training business people. We have a lot of business English training in France. A lot of people need to speak English for their jobs. So I got a lot of experience very quickly, teaching full time, going in between companies, learning how things worked in businesses. And but there was one thing that always bugged me about language training. It was that as somebody who is a self-confessed geek, I have always been an avid computer person for my whole life. I was immediately thinking, as soon as I got used to English training and I got to a point where I thought I was a good English trainer, I'd done the CELTA qualification and the Delta qualification for anyone who knows those. I started looking for how I could use digital tools in my training, because it's something I wanted to merge those two passions together. And at that time, I had a double hat, because I was trying to make a digital solution for the training organization I was working for, and also trying to develop my own approach. And that's something I think, we'll probably have people here today who will be from those two worlds. I can see people in the list who are from language schools, who I know you're from language schools, and there might be people there I don't know, maybe you're freelance trainers. There's two different kinds of dreams, and I think I've experienced both of them, and both of them have led to developing this teaching approach called DALT. And so the freelance side was the idea that one day I could maybe start to put my training materials online, that I would use that teaching talent that I developed and try to put that online and actually make more money doing that. And I think in my experience talking to freelancers, it's the dream of a lot of freelance language trainers to put their materials online and to start selling their talent, so to speak, to people and making a bit more money doing that, taking a step back from the teaching side. So that's one thing that led to this approach. I had that dream as well, and I tried to realize that dream, and tried a lot of different techniques out, a lot of different methods, a lot of different platforms, solutions, and it all led to me creating my own in the end. And then from the language school side, it's also the dream of the language school is, at the moment in France anyway, to be able to reduce the cost of training, to be able to get training done into a reasonable price that could fit the pricing model that exists here in France. And so using digital training, that's one way to do that. So it means that the school can make a bit more profit, it can free the teacher's time a bit more. So there's a lot of reasons, and so I had that role as well, trying to choose a solution for digital training in my school. So I developed those two competencies and became an expert in what solutions existed, what methods existed for digital training. And in the end, I'd finished my project with my school that I was working with, and I really wanted to focus on my private work, so I went into business for myself, and quickly then realized that I needed to experiment and develop my own techniques to be able to do the digital training that I wanted to do, to live the freelance dream that I wanted to have. And doing that, I've created something that I believe I can share with other people who are freelancers, to help them also realize, if they have that, to realize that dream of starting their own digital training, or with a language school to have a really credible solution to offering digital training to learners to be able to reduce training costs in a language school situation. So that's my story. I just wanted to talk to you shortly about what has led as well in terms of digital training, what exists on the market, what has led to DALT, digitally assisted language training.
If I can just interrupt, Richard, just to
yeah.
sort of let people know that from what we've experienced so far, most people come into these webinars that like you said, I think the first reason they're coming is because they want to do their own digital training. They want to have their own digital training offer, if not their own school, really something integrated. The second reason is because they're looking for sort of homework activities. That's what we've seen. They want to sort of, have a different way of presenting homework activities, which is something that DALT covers, but not, we don't call it homework. It's not homework, but it's, it's you'll go into that. And the third reason is because they don't know anything about online training. We've really seen some people haven't tried anything yet, and they're afraid to start. So those are the three things we've seen so far. Is there any other? Do you agree with that, or do you think there's any other scenarios why people would be here?
Well, we've got the poll, so we could put the poll out there and see what the attendees
Should we do the poll?
are saying.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna. Well, I'll leave that to you, Joss.
Right. So for those guys who are on the computer, not on the telephone, can you please choose an answer? Why are you here? So you've got 3 possibilities. I want to build my own online training offer. I want to make digital homework for my face-to-face lessons, and I'm not interested in digital learning. I'm just curious. Basically, you're just starting out. And other, and you can put other in the chat box if you want to. So not everyone's voted so far. I'll give you a few more seconds. Nearly done.
Somebody's voted in the questions window, so add one vote there for just curious.
Just curious. Okay. Well, I'm going to close it down. That's pretty good so far. And share the results. So what you're looking at, I'm not sure if you can see this, Richard, is that 67% want to build their own online training offer, and 33% want to make digital homework for my face-to-face lessons. We also have just curious, and so yeah, so mainly building an online training offer. So that's good to know.
Yeah, that's not at all surprising, and it really, for me, that follows my experience of talking, because I've done surveys and I've interviewed a lot of freelance trainers and schools, and found that most people are really dreaming of building their own sort of online, either an online school or something that they can sell online that would be a little bit more automated, that would bring them a bit more automated income. And I know that personally that was my dream as well, so I can really relate to that. So that that is what has brought me to DALT. I'll explain a little bit about what I did and how that led to DALT as a solution. So I started out with e-learning pure. E-learning, well, from my definition of e-learning, if you've read my ebook as well, which we can send to you as well. You've probably already received that, most of you, but we can also send the link again with the follow-up from this presentation. You can get more details about the methodology and the background. But e-learning basically is when you're completing activities online, and it's purely online, self-corrected. You've got a learner doing gap fills or watching a video with questions, but it's like automated responses. So the trainer's not involved in the training. It's something really separate from if you were doing face-to-face training, or something that's standalone. Like, for example, if you've used Duolingo, if you've used Babel, those are things where they're standalone e-learning solutions. So I started out trying that, building things online that would be self-corrected, thinking that that would be something that would motivate learners. But what I discovered, and what most people discover when they do that, I can be confident saying that because I've heard these stories from most of everyone I've talked to. If you've got some sort of self-access e-learning, It's something that people might be interested in at first, and you always have some students who are a bit of a SWAT who will, do all of the activities because they're really passionate about learning. But for me, the majority of learners will lose interest after the first few lessons, and the attendance rates will drop really, really rapidly. After, if you've got a 10-lesson course, they're going to drop by the mid course, it's going to drop to nearly nothing. So it's really, when you interview people about it and you try to learn about that, you realize that it's because not having the trainer there means that e-learning is just work. And that's something that really started to materialize in my head as a concept, was realizing and accepting that language training is work. And the only thing that makes it any way fun is the fact that the trainer's there. Like we're good as trainers at designing fun activities, but the fact that we're there doing the activities, we are the linchpin of the motivation of the learners. We're giving the activities, and we're having conversations, we're talking about our lives and in the classroom, and that's something that really, really motivates learners. The presence of the teacher really motivates learners. So when you do e-learning, you're taking out that key factor of motivation, and then the result is just standard. You just see the motivation drops off when you take that out. So that developed then into blended learning, which is something you might have heard of already, and it's quite popular. Blended learning is where we take those e-learning activities and we integrate them seamlessly into our face-to-face lessons. So an e-learning activity is no longer standalone. It might be the precursor for a face-to-face lesson, or the consolidation after a face-to-face lesson. So you've just done a lesson about training somebody how to use the correct language in a meeting with colleagues, and then the blended part would be maybe a follow-up to that, is that they have to fill in a gap fill to prove that they've learned and acquired the language, or that they have to watch a video about a meeting and answer questions, just something that would, so that the classroom time would be spent doing things that are more practical, that the teacher's time would be spent more scaffolding and helping the learners to develop. So it's a good technique, it's fine, it's a good idea. It follows the flipped classroom idea for public education, which is do the theory outside the class, where the learners can spend time going over it again and again, mastering the theory or the knowledge, and then coming into class face to face with the teacher and really putting it into practice. So that's a great idea, and it really, for public education, it works. I've seen these great examples of that, like Khan Academy is a really great example in American public high schools that works really, really well. But again, for language training, it's the face-to-face parts of a blended program that the learners love, and they see the e-learning parts as well integrated as they are. They see them as just homework. It's just, it's homework. It's like giving them a photocopied page to take home and fill in. It's work, and they'll do it because they need to, but they're not going to enjoy it. It's not going to be motivating. It's not going to be as fun. It's never going to be as fun as sitting in front of the teacher. I don't think anybody would disagree with that, because we know the difference. So that really was something that bugged me, that got to me, and it made me search for a solution. And in the end,
can I just interrupt? There's another thing I think that fundamentally doesn't work about blended learning in the design of it, is that the teacher sometimes doesn't have control over the e-learning that you're talking about. Sometimes the teacher will hopefully be know what the student's going to be doing, prepare them for that and tell them to go and do that. But in the vast majority of cases of the blended learning offers that I've seen working with language schools, the student's supposed to go and make his own way, and the teacher has no control, and the teacher is suffering. He's not motivated to actually go and push that learner to do something. So for me, that's a massive weakness when it comes to blended learning.
Well, I mean, that's it's something that's important in DALT as well. You can define an approach like blended learning, and people will take it and they will use it wrong. They'll use it wrongly. So when you define blended learning, really blended learning, and all the documentation you have about blended learning, it has to be integrated. So it has to be something where there is a connection and the teacher is in control of what they're doing outside the course. If you're doing it like exactly what you've said, what we've seen with a lot of schools, if you're doing it in a way where the work that's, you sold somebody a program and you've said, okay, I'm going to see you for 10 hours face to face, and then you're going to go for 30 hours onto this platform like Macmillan English Campus, or Pearson My English Lab, or Business Results digital platform, and you're going to do 30 hours on that platform. And you're free to do whatever you want. You do whatever. It's just a method to sell somebody. It's a method to sell somebody something where you don't have any costs involved. So because you don't have a trainer in there. So that's where it's being used wrongly. That's not blended learning. That's a mix between face-to-face and e-learning. That's just a package. So it's like packaged learning. So it's not really blended learning. And it's important as well to say that, because with DALT, I know from training people and using DALT, it's something that I can tell you about what it is and tell you how to do it. But you really have to follow certain key tenets to make it work, or else it'll just be a failed experiment and you'll be wondering why it didn't work. So we'll get to that later. I'm going to show them 3 key tenets if you follow with the DALT approach, that you really will have a successful DALT approach, but they have to be followed and there's no choice. If you're just doing it because you want to reduce your costs and you're doing it sort of halfway, it will be as unsuccessful as blended learning. So it's really important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and DALT is not blended learning anyway. So even if you're doing blended learning the wrong way, even if it is integrated and everyone's on board, this is still a new approach. It's something different that goes beyond what blended learning's been able to give us. And I think that's important as well.
This is an approach that puts the teacher back in the bits in blended learning where the teacher was taken out.
Yeah.
This is putting the teacher back in at every stage, and that's DALT. DALT, the key definition of DALT is training in which you're using digital tools, but the trainer is involved in every step, in every activity, in every step of a lesson plan, and there's some inclusion of the teacher. And I'll show you how that works, because you may be thinking, well, that defeats the purpose of doing digital learning, because one of the key points of digital learning, especially for language schools and big organizations, is reducing cost. And that's what if your client is a business client, that's what they want. They want you to pitch them cheaper training. They don't want you to come in and say, yeah, I've got these amazing digital tools, but I'm going to make you pay 70 euros an hour. They still want you to pitch them something cheaper, because there are people out there who are going to pitch it for 20 euros an hour. So but it is still something where in my experimentation and my development, I found that you can still get the training cost down, even if you have the trainer involved in every step. There is a way to do it, and it's really motivating. I found that the learners that I've done it with have loved it, and it's really, for me, it's really been a big success. So I've written the ebook on it now. I've even developed my own platform that I use for delivering my courses when I do the DALT approach. And I really believe in that. So
I just want to just to not to flatter you unduly, but I've been using DALT.
No, flatter away, yeah.
I've been using DALT. I've seen other schools been using DALT. You've been training schools. You've been implementing DALT with these schools, and I myself have been using it with fantastic results. This is a tried, tested approach to digital online, digital language training. So it works, and this is why you're here, and this is what you're going to see. So just one thing, Richard, you have the camera on. We said we're going to turn it off to show people the slides. Do you want to keep going? Oh, there you go. No, you've taken it off. Okay.
Let's get it nice and big there, yeah.
There you go. Okay. Exactly, make it nice and big for everybody. Okay.
Yeah. So let's just have a quick review, without taking too long on it, of what exists already, because making your own language training, digital language training solution, there are a million ways of doing it today. I've just listed a few of the key ones that I would have at the time before, if you'd asked me what digital solutions do you think work the best. I never answered that there was one that works the best. I would say out of all of them, they're all bad in a certain way, because they don't they're not no, but they're not. It's to say, to really make it clear, any solution where there's e-learning or self-corrected activities like Moodle or Udemy or WizIQ, they're not adapted for language training. And it's simple. It's simply because of the point that I made before, which is people want to do language training to talk to the trainer. They want to do language training to speak. They like speaking, but they also want to talk to the trainer directly. So when you take that out, when you use something like Moodle, it doesn't matter how great the material is. You can see. I'm not. I hate to bring up examples, but if you look at examples like Cambridge have a really good example called Touchstone English, right? That's a great example of blended learning, where the book that they've created is really well done. It's beautiful, graphics and everything, and the activities are pedagogically very, very sound. But it's still, in my opinion, from my experience, it still doesn't go far enough. it's still not motivating enough for learners. And that's something. It's just to say there are a lot of really, really good solutions that exist, but they don't go as far as DALT does in terms of motivating the learners. So anyway, I just wanted to quickly get an idea.
What about you? One thing you haven't put in there is things like Duolingo and Babel. I mean, people have seen their adverts on their websites the world over, and they have hundreds of millions of users apparently. So, just what's your opinion on them? Because their marketing people will tell you that they're brilliant and you can learn a language in three weeks. So, what's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, it's two different markets. So I didn't put them in there because these are solutions that we can use as trainers to build an online offer that we can actually already use today to build an online offer. I didn't put those in there because those kind of solutions, it's a different market. You're looking at a different target in terms of us looking for, our target market as trainers. We're looking for people who need speaking practice, who maybe that's in their job, they have to speak as part of English as part of their job, or they go on holiday very often, or they, whatever. There's a reason that they need to speak English better, and so they'll come to a trainer, because those things like Duolingo and Babbel, well, Duolingo in particular, because there's no trainer interaction. It's only vocabulary learning, grammar learning. That's just for casual learners who are curious about language, who are interested, who want to, they want to just generally improve themselves and speak more languages. Then they can use that to learn vocabulary, and it's fun. It is a fun method to do, but it's never going to help you speak better. So that's just, for me, that's casual learners. That's not our market. Those are not people who are ever going to engage a language trainer and pay to get language training, because they're not that interested in speaking. They're just doing it for fun. So I didn't mention that. I just wanted to quickly get a poll again of what people have already used, if you've already used any of these solutions. So we've got another poll to put out there. So if you could just click if you've used any of these solutions before, or other, if you click other, please put the solution in the questions.
Exactly, put in the chat box what you do use. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. So if you could put in the the questions box. There's a good spread there. That's good to see. That's 100%. You can close it. So that's great. I mean, that's definitely not surprising. 22% Moodle. There's people who've used English 360, WordPress, Teachable. So that, a bit of everything there. Other WizIQ, you can see somebody said there in the questions.
Which we could have put in as well,
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's spread. Everybody's tried something, and what I could say, if you're here today, it's probably because you tried one of those things and you didn't get the results you were looking for. It wasn't satisfying. You're maybe thinking you're doing something wrong, but as I can assure you that, and that's part of the DALT attraction to DALT, and also part of the DALT approach, is you're not doing anything wrong. You are, I can assume, a good classroom teacher, that when you go into a classroom, you impress people. They love learning with you. You've got repeat customers. You wouldn't be in business if people didn't like you as a teacher. Because what we're selling is our ability to teach, our eclectic way of teaching. So it's not, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just delivering that talent of yours through these kind of platforms is not the ideal way to do it. It's not adapted for the way that we should be doing it is putting that talent and putting that teaching style into our digital learning. And that's what DALT is about. DALT is about taking your style, taking your talent, and driving the online learning with your materials, with your lesson plans, and with your teaching approach that you use, whatever it might be. Anything is compatible. It's about taking those lesson plans that you do in the classroom and transposing them online, getting learners to engage with them in similar ways to what you do in the classroom online, and as a result, being present, because you'll be giving activities to the learners through self-recorded videos, for example, that we'll see later, audio, written messages, and you'll be giving feedback directly to the learners through messages and through videos. So it really will motivate your learners in a different way than you might have experienced before with whatever tool you've already used. And you'll really see a difference. You can just ask, one of the things I'll be suggesting that people do today is to go away and try to find some volunteers, get some learners that you've already got, even just 2 or 3 of them, to sign up as guinea pigs and try this method out with you, because just by interviewing them afterwards, you will get the feedback. I'm confident you'll get the feedback that this is a really motivating method and they're really enjoying it, and that you'll find that by delivering those classroom lessons online, you're going to reduce your teaching time, and you're going to get closer to that automated online training offer that you want to be able to get a bit better automated income, to be able to take a step back from the face-to-face lesson time, to be able to increase your profit margins and reduce the amount of time you're spending in front of learners, and to be able to deliver that talent, those materials and that talent that you've got, to be able to deliver that through digital training. So I'm hoping that I can convince you of that today. At least if I can convince you to go away and try it, just try it with the free tools that I'm going to show you. Everything I'm going to show you here is a method that I've used, that I experimented with, I developed, I chose the tools myself. They worked well. They're all free. And I was able to construct a working digital offer through these tools, deliver that to learners and get good feedback. And in the end, I've focused myself more on creating my own platform and developing my own platform to be able to make it easier for people to deliver the DALT approach. But what I'm going to show you in the following slides are tools that I've used and tools that work, that you can use from tomorrow. You can start using to build your own digital approach, to build your own digital offer for learners. So